The price of grown steers has also gone up. Through Gunnedah, we look at it going from 160 cents to 183 cents. I've just noted today, just before I started speaking, that the price of grown steers at Roma has gone to close to 300, has topped out at close to 393 cents a kilogram. These are record prices. The price of a bale of cotton in Australia when we came to power was $425 a bale. Now it's $525 a bale, a 23% increase. The price of a 18 to 24 fat score sheep has gone from a 211 cents to 352 cents a kilogram, or around $84 live. This is a 67% increase. Pork for a 60 to 75 dress weight weaner pig has gone from 308 cents to 315 cents. Price even for goats has gone from 209 cents to 390 cents. That's an 87% increase, and good news to all politicians. Milk at the farm gate from the Murray-Goulburn has gone up slightly, but that has been in a time of turmoil where prices have been affected by the issues around the Ukraine and the trade issues that surround that. Wool has fallen slightly, and it is an area where I have to put a lot more of my endeavours, but of course, as the Minister for Agriculture, you minister just as much for wool as you are for capsicums, as you are for every part of that produce. Horticultural products such as Cavendish bananas have gone from $12.76 a carton to $28.85 a carton, a 126% increase. Lemons have gone from $19.41 for a 12 kg box to $50.20 per box, a 159% increase. Kiwi fruit from $19.50 a bulk pack to $27.50 a bulk pack, a 41% increase. Yes, we've also had some disappointments. Oranges fell, cherries have down because of some of the issues pertaining to Vietnam, and peaches are down. But one can say, all in all, that we have been part of an historical turnaround in agricultural prices in this nation. As an anecdote, I believe that my job is best expressed in the dignity it brings back to people's lives at the farm gate. The whole purpose of my job and my department's job is not about our own personal gains, our own personal misfortune, or our likes or dislikes, but our desire as a team to work together to make sure that the people we are paid to serve prosper by our endeavours. I think this is no better displayed when before Christmas a lady northwest of Charters Towers contacted me and said, look, I rarely contact a politician, and if I do, it's generally to complain. But I'm telling you that I'm loading bullocks now at over $1,300 a head, paid for. And so we have money for Christmas. That is the sort of message that drives me. When a better return goes to the farm gate, the mother can afford to renovate her kitchen, like other people in cities can afford to renovate theirs. When a better price goes to the farm gate, the farmer can go on holidays, like other families go on holidays. When a better price goes to the farm gate, the farmer can refurbish his plant and equipment, rebuild his yards, rebuild the fences, buy better genetics, improve pastures, get better plant, increase their irrigation capacity. And as a collective, this refurbishes our nation's capital base to support the requirements we so often hear of. It is through money such as this as it makes its way into our nation's economy which will support the healthcare, support childcare, support pensions, support defence, education, police, and might I dare say, our own selves on top of the hill. When we talk about general employment across this nation and increasing the employment base, we must remove the rhetoric and understand where it actually happens. We must continually remind ourselves that the largest manufacturing sector in our nation is meat processing. The largest employer in regional Australia is abattoirs. When you go to an abattoir, you see that dynamic. You see that awe-inspiring view of sometimes 400 to 500 to 600 people on a boning floor, almost like an industrial Olympics of where people are working to quotas and working flat out. In some instances, you go to abattoirs where you will see thousands of people at work, thousands of people in high-vis suits, thousands of people with white helmets on, with overcoats, thousands of people taking home money for their families. Thousands of people, to be honest, who in other forms, if this form of work was not there, possibly wouldn't have a job. There is real dignity in what we do. It is better to be better at what you're good at than trying to conjure up skills that we know other nations have an intrinsic advantage in. We are good at agriculture. We are good at employing people in agriculture. We are good at research and development in agriculture. We have the highest yields of cotton in the world. We attain some of the highest prices for agricultural product in the world. We are known for our beef throughout the world. We are known for, and people aspire to our branding because they see it as a quality product that they wish to buy. And in recent times, the largest proportion of growth and employment in this nation has been in agriculture. But unless you have the farms that are producing the product, then all else that follows is naught. Agriculture is a noble pursuit. It does not benefit from the weakness of others. It does not leave people diminished. It is the essence of what feeds and clothes them. As such, agriculture must not only economically be a pillar of the economy, but morally is a pillar of the economy. As it is fundamentally tied to the future of our nation, it is my belief that it should remain overwhelmingly and unambiguously the domain of the Australian farming family. The Australian farm owned by mums and dads like you. This is not only my desire, but overwhelmingly the desire of people from Blacktown to Geelong. To this purpose, we have reduced the level at which an individual must report to the Foreign Investment Review Board when they purchase land if they come from overseas. It will go from its current level of $252 million non-cumulative. That means that currently a person from overseas could buy a $250 million property every day of the week and never have to tell anybody about it, to $15 million, and that is cumulative. So if you buy a $14 million place one day and you desire to buy a $2 million place the next, it's not that you will be rejected, but it must be reviewed. The alternate government, the Labor Party, in some mysterious diversion, have said that the level should go from $252 million to a unilateral level of $1,000 million. Now, whether you're in Blacktown or Boulia or Ipswich or Warriner, this idea is overwhelmingly rejected by the Australian people. One of the greatest attributes our nation has is a clean, green image. This is a selling point, not only in Australia but overseas. In many countries that I've gone to, the reason the Australian product is preferred is not because it is cheaper, because it is not. It's because it is cleaner. Recent events have highlighted this in even clearer focus. The Australian people have asked for, and we will deliver, a clearer country of origin labelling system. A system that is diagrammatic, simple, reflects the proportionality of what is in the packet, removed of fillers such as water, and also is compulsory. Current ambiguities, such as made in Australia from local imported ingredients, or made in Australia when it's not actually come from this nation at all, will be removed as a source of confusion for the consumer. For our nation to take the next step, we must invest in the infrastructure that underpins it. And this task has already started. The previous coalition government put $10 billion on the table for the refurbishment of the Murray-Darling Basin. And you can go now to places such as the Macquarie Valley and see this immense investment already paying dividends in straightened channels, in telemetric measuring, in taking away the absorbance so that the water that's there is the water you can use, and better irrigation plans. You can go to Mildura and see investments well in excess of $100 million in new lift pumps for more effective watering. You can go the length and breadth of the Murray-Darling Basin and see pivots, laterals and trickle irrigation taking the place of flood irrigation. You can see that investment also in other ways, such as the better yields that we are getting for cotton. If you can get more cotton from an acre of land, then inherently that is also a water saving. We invest around $700 million a year in research and development in agriculture. We make sure that our genetics remain at the forefront globally. Anecdotally, as an example of this, and recently, I was part of an announcement of $15 million to keep PhD students involved in Toowoomba at the GRDC. This process follows in the footsteps of Farah and developing better disease resistance and higher yielding strains of grain. Dams are being constructed, from Chaffey Dam in the north to the most recent $200 million investment in water infrastructure in Tasmania. This will continue to be rolled out in short order. The Green Paper on agriculture has been through Cabinet and the White Paper is imminent. The Northern Australian White Paper intersects these twos and likewise will soon be released. People might ask, why have these not been released sooner? And there's a simple answer to that. We want these documents to be formidable. We want them to make a difference. We want them to be beyond merely motherhood statements that adorn so many shells and crevices, collecting detritus, living obscurus per obscurum, until they are finally shredded, purposeless and unread. Ladies and gentlemen, I see this job as an incredible honour. I grew up on a farm. I was one of 6 kids. My father in his 90s and my mother in her 80s still live on the property. I own a property myself. I don't see this as a conflict of interest. I see this as real motivation. I've made it my objective not to live or die to be a politician, but to be judged as having made a difference. I am so proud that this government, because I believe for once is actually doing that. I get a sense of real purpose when I stand next to a Prime Minister who actually wants to do something. He's going to break away from what merely keeps him in a job and do that which, if we are forgotten, leaves our nation in a better place. I believe that is the essence of a purposeful life. My goal in agriculture is to make sure that whoever comes next, and I hope that is not imminent, that they have a foundation to further build on. So the great and unending work of building a stronger Australia, a country which can support itself, feed others, sustain what we believe is morally proper, and to be a beacon to others in the rest of the world continues unobstructed. Thank you very much for your attention. All the best and God bless.
Minister, thank you. What an impassioned case for agriculture this morning. In a moment, I might change spots and go over to a microphone there and help direct traffic. The good news is we have got plenty of time for questions this morning, so I'd ask you to come forward to the microphone points that are in the aisle and indicate that you're keen to ask a question, and I'll take you in due course. I might break the ice first, though, because nobody likes breaking the ice, but Minister, it was an impassioned case for agriculture. You talked about agriculture being a noble profession. You made the case for the family farm in no uncertain terms. It was interesting. ABC Rural did a lot of coverage about the announcement recently. Surprisingly, there was a lot of reaction on the other side of the question from people around the country, particularly in Western Australia, with farmers saying, look, hang on, yeah, it's an issue, but is it that big an issue? So that is my question to you. How important is the question of foreign ownership, and do we really need to have strong controls?
Well, obviously, if it wasn't, I wouldn't be putting my endeavours towards it. You must be a reflection. You must always be a reflection of what your constituent is asking for and put it through the filter of what is right and proper for the nation. But if I always base this on, I'll base this on 2 principles. I remember even in Queensland, in the town where I lived prior to moving back home to Tamworth, I said, show me the register that you have of foreign-owned land in this district. And I got one. And the obvious one was there, obviously Cubby Station. And there was the section of it. But I knew full well that that wasn't a complete register. I knew because I was an accountant in the town where the other properties were that were either owned via trusts or owned by other mechanisms which were owned overseas. So even in a place where we're supposed to have transparency, it wasn't. The record was not complete. I'll back it up with another conversation I had with a real estate agent merely last week, where he said to me, before I was in politics, I was known as Joycey. He knew me from a long time ago. He said, Joycey, I like you and I hate you. I tell you what I like about you is all the tyre kickers out there who've been wandering around, not wanting to close on a deal, they're rushing in, they're closing. They're closing on the deal and they're settling. He said, that's good. He said, but I imagine when it's passed,